Easy E, how are we?
Seán, it's been a while.
Well, what can I say? Long cycles. I turned into Jason Bourne, as in I forgot everything, including last week's podcast. So I completely apologise to everyone listening to that. But the last time I was on the podcast was the week before doing the Ring of Kerry, and I did listen to you guys have your little podcast, and I did hear the few digs and the few things I have to clear up. One, if you're ever doing a big event, and we've hinted on this before with our smartwatches episode, charge your watch the night before. Halfway up the biggest hill, halfway through the fucking in the Ring of Kerry, I had a look. The watch was down to less than 10%, and I'm like, "Oh, this is not going to make the entire journey." So I had to knock off the watch, put on, and then the Strava, the phone wasn't used, so I put it on the back, and then so I had Strava record the next one because I heard you guys talking about Rachel saying, "Hey, it was broken to 2. What happened there? Did he actually do it? Did he actually finish?" Yes, I actually finished. We'll talk more about the Ring of Kerry in a second. But the other thing, I did 170K, and you on the podcast in front of everyone were like, "Yeah, Rachel did 100K, but her 100K and the way she did it was a lot tougher than the way you did your 170K, Seán, even though you did almost twice the distance." I have to say to you, Eric Laws, right here and now, you're dead right. 100% right.
Thought we were going to get a row in.
No, not at all. The thing about the Ring of Kerry, no, I absolutely loved it. It's an absolutely phenomenal event. But I remember being like, I don't know the place in Kerry. It was only my second time down there. I had no idea what I hadn't seen. Like, one of the girls told me it's just 2 hills and you're grand. And I was like, grand. I didn't know one of the hills was a complete 8K incline to the top of the feckin' hill. So I had no idea what I was in for. But what I did know was there was 2 stops along the way, and I messed up the second stop completely. But I knew there was 2 stops at 60K, and when I thought the second one was at 120, which makes sense for it. So, you got your 100, 170, yeah. And we were just before the 120 for the second stop, and we're going through a town, and we're like, will we stop here? It's like, no, the proper big stop where all the sandwiches and the crisps and all the such. It's literally around the corner, because there's no way it's going to be much longer than that, because then there's not much left in the event. Turns out it's in Kenmare. It's 140K, so we had to cycle an extra 20K to the thing. We were in bits. We're going up this near Big Hill, and your man's like, "You're nearly there, 13K." And I was like, 13K? What? We were starving. We went from 60 to 140 straight. But the whole thing with the Ring of Kerry was, so there's 2 stops, and I thought you'd hop on your bike and you start anytime you want, like 6, 7, 8, whatever. And I knew that, and I knew it wasn't a race. I knew it wasn't timed. But I was still in that race mentality, as in, you get to that first stop, have your food, maybe you can stick, half an hour chats, whatever, and then you keep going to get that second stop and go from there. So what actually happened was we set off just after 7 o'clock in the morning, I think it was, and we got to the first town, which was probably 20K in. So there's a good 150K left. And the street is lined with cyclists, all just there chilling and having coffees and breakfast and all the rest. I'm like, what are you relaxing for? It's 150K to go. Let's fucking go. Like, what's this thing? But then I realized the more I got into it, was like every town people stop. Everywhere, like people they got like 12 hours to finish it. And it's like Murphy's Law. They are taking 12 hours to finish and they're going out to enjoy themselves. So I reckon people got up, and like I got up early, had me Weetabix and stuff in, me protein shaking. And I was like, get me food in before I get going, because I got 60K to the next stop, and thinking like that. But they're thinking, I get up, nice little cycle into the next town, have a bit of breakfast, bit of a laugh, maybe a pint, on to the next one, on we go, and just, so anyone that's got any bit of cycling experience can definitely do it. It depends on how you approach it. And I just go full circle on it. So when we're talking about Rachel doing 100K being much difficult, obviously, and we've talked about this before in the podcast, it's pace. It's going as hard as you can. So I was grand the next day. I was able to do me long run in. I did a 15K around Killarney National Park. I went on one of those where you don't know where you're going, but it could be 15K, it could be 10K, it could be 20K. You're just like, I go for a wander, what's down here? And one of those kind of runs, and I really, really enjoyed it. But I paced myself through the thing. It was like, hills are hills. I had the cleats, I had a good bike. Bike getting service made a big, big difference, because I felt a lot easier, a lot smoother. So anyone doing a big event and you haven't got your bike service in a while, definitely do that. But it was just like, I get to the top of the hill, and I get to the top of the hill, I'll get to the next stop, and I get to the next stop, and I just enjoy it. Whereas when Rachel, you guys talking about her doing a podcast going 100K, she was all out doing it. Had I done that approach for Kerry, I probably wouldn't be able to walk for 2 weeks afterwards. So if you want to have a bit of crack and just take in the sights and scenery of Kerry, it's a phenomenal event, and I would thoroughly recommend it.
Obviously, we're going to be doing it next year. It'll be a nice lead-in for obviously the postponed Hardman event that I'll be doing. But haven't done the cycle and a bit of a run the next day around the park. How hard do you think that event will be? Considering now we're going pace. There's one hill in a town that's very short.
After that, there's two massive hills. One of them was around the 80k mark in. That would be tough doing it on pace. Now, you fly down the hills. I was hitting over 50 kilometers an hour flying down the hills afterwards. Like, one of my friends was literally passing out ambulances and vans and everything going down the hill. Just like insane. How, like, you have to hit the brakes going down. Like, I just wasn't ballsy enough not to hit the brakes. But that was very tough. The 8K climb out of Kenmare was tough, especially because of 140K. And it depends what way your loop is going.
It's the same direction.
It's the same direction. I didn't even know. I thought I was going the other way until like halfway through. I'm like, something's not right here. That's how little I knew of where I was going. And that's near Avoca's the top of the hill. And then you've got, I'm going to butcher this on the podcast, woman's view, ladies view. Yeah, so going down that hill is phenomenal, but it is a very steep climb to go up there with pace. Similar to Quest, except double it.
Yeah.
Like Quest had something, like it wasn't much like Quest prepared for me, and Glendalough prepared me pretty well for it. And obviously the hills around here, like I have a lot of experience doing, not a lot, I've enough experience doing hills around here because anytime I leave the house, I have to tackle the hill one way or another to get to where I'm going. It's just the way it is around here. So with that, I was able to go up at my own pace and just, okay, one of those where you're in first gear and you're trying to go down another gear and just there's no more gears to go down, but you still just grind it out. The cleats made a big difference as well. Like I was able to use my hamstrings a lot more to pull up on the pedals as well as push down on it. So, with pace, it would be fun. And there are a lot of small, like there's two big ones, but you're still down in Kerry. There's a lot of ups and downs and stuff to it. So it will be, it'll be healthy for you next year, son.
Well, that's nice knowing that. Bombshell, we hit the intro music.
And let's go. So speaking of cycling and stuff, you were talking with Rachel on the podcast about getting back into the swing of things, doing your cycles at the work and stuff like that. And looking at Strava this week, you've pretty much hit every day doing that.
Yeah, I suppose for me, it's been a weird year. There's been a lot of stop, more stop than start. And I'm going to start and then I kind of let myself down. But I suppose it's kind of like anything in it. Like we always say we're not runners, but like I'm very comfortable at this stuff now. We're doing it a little while. So for me, it was a little bit disappointing. And I think it was an element of laziness knowing I can do it as well. That complacency kicking in. But for anyone who's trying to get back into it or feel like, because particularly myself, I'm up 10 kilos on a year ago. Well, I'm happy to be at that. The 10 kilos is probably too light for me. But it's just having the motivation to go, right, this is happening this week and I'm going to do this. And then just sticking to what you've said. And after that, like for me, it's been a week. I cycled in most every day. Back Friday, I didn't cycle home. We were heading off somewhere else. So just sticking to that, felt the tiredness, sleeping every night, wanting to get into bed at 9 o'clock every night because I wasn't used to exercising once again. And then having to do a day's work in between and then knowing I'm getting on that bike to head home. Then I've no choice, I've no car, so you had to get on the bike. So I think it was nice to get back into it. And I chatted to you just beforehand, but to reiterate the point, by the end of the week I was like, yeah, I'm fucked. I was really tired. Like it's 35 kilometers every day, which is nothing. It is nothing on a board. You've just talked about 37 or 170 kilometers. I didn't even do that in a week, but
you're at a pace.
Yeah, I'm trying to get in as quick as I can. And what's funny is it is relatively flat. And when you're looking at it initially, from here to there, as you think of it, has two hills. One's at Chapel Lizard and it's a big hill. It's a very big hill and it's very short. It's only 700 meters, but by the time you get to the top, you are huffing and puffing. But from this place, obviously in the city, it is out to Baldonnel, there's 320 feet to climb. So from the start, you're actually climbing the entire way, because I was kind of getting annoyed that I was struggling to hold the 25 kilometers an hour all the way in, because you have a headwind the whole way because you're heading west and our prevailing wind comes from the west. And it's a slight climb, very slight, but a slight climb from start to finish. Now, people who cycle will be like, it's flat. And I was like, yeah, I know it's flat. But when I'm coming home,
now it's not.
When I'm coming home, I'm hitting 39 kilometers an hour. So I'm still the same person, and I should be more tired in the afternoon after a day's work and cycle home. So there has to be something to give an indication of why you're going slower in the start. But it kind of hurts when you're hitting 39 kilometers on the way home and you're struggling to get over 24 on the way in. You're like, yeah, and you're pushing hard. But yeah, no, it's been good to get back into it, and I'm starting to enjoy the journey again. Like even today, like usually on a Sunday, I'd have the excuse of, sure, fuck it, we won't do it today, or it's too hot, or it's this. I'm already starting to think, I could probably cycle home to my mum's house out in Ratoath. You know, like it's starting to enjoy the process of how can I use my day to get exercise in, and it's been really enjoyable. I'm minding 2 dogs as well, and to be honest, fantastic motivators. Seán, no offense, the best personal trainers I've ever had, just because the guilt I have for not walking them. I've getting 2 walks in a day, which again is really helping. It's helping just get the steps above the 10,000. And when you're looking at the 2 of them, head tilt, looking at you going, are we going? Or it's like, oh, fuck, right, come on.
Let's go, yeah.
So yeah, even just getting the 3K walk in the evening times, and just getting out, stretching the legs, it's just that extra bit. So, and it's something that I had a conversation with. It was like, I don't know, well, obviously you're a lean, mean fighting gym machine, so you probably haven't felt this in a while, but the that bloated feeling when you haven't been training for a while, and you know you've been on the beer and you're doing this and you're doing that and you're eating cake, or if you're like me, you've done fuck all for 6 months. But I'm a week into cycling every day, and this is just to kind of put it in perspective of what, just a little bit of thought into. I haven't been doing a meal plan, because I said one thing is enough. So cycling was it, and whatever was here we were eating. I just kind of stopped the snacks, you know, to stop eating the packet of sweets, or you know, like it's the little bits of comfort foods, I suppose. But I've been eating my meals and enjoying my meals, and if there was a little bit of a sweet after it, that's fine, but it was with my meal. So in a week, just cycling in now every day, cutting out snacks, I'm 2 kilos down.
Jeez.
So just to highlight to people what just your food and movement can do. Like my heart rate rarely came over, bar up the hills, came over 140 beats per minute. My cycles were 40 minutes to 50 minutes. So by doing that twice a day, the impact on the body was very minimal. And there's 2 kilos there that just came off from not snacking. No, I've been eating burgers. I've been making burgers, homemade spice bags. I've been enjoying everything. But just if people are looking for that little motivation, the difference you can make, and I'm not saying everyone will make the same difference in a week. I totally understand. And you know, I'm a bit weird like that. Weight will drop off me in a hurry. And that's kind of a pain for me as well, because I always have that in my head. Is like, it'll be fine once I start.
I could do it whenever. Yeah, you can get complacent and do it that way.
So other people may struggle. But I've had takeaways on the weekend. I've had a couple of beers. I have not put myself on a nutrition plan whatsoever. And there's 2 kilos in 7 days, essentially. I weighed myself the Sunday before I started, and I was 93.9, and I got on the scales, and I was just 92.1, so just under the 2 kilo mark. So in 1 week is pretty good, and most people would be very impressed with that if they achieve that themselves. For me now, I have to start thinking, okay, maybe I need to start adding in snacks. So
well, you're always going to drop a fair bit that first week coming back in with water weight and everything else. Like you'll have that. But if you're making those little changes like you've made with snacks, stuff like that, you might maintain that week 2 and then a little drop week 3. And then because you're already affecting the calories in, calories out, because you're obviously burning a lot more calories doing the cycling and stuff like that. And you've already taken some calories away because you're taking away the snacks. So that's starting to balance out a lot more.
Yeah. And that's all it is. It's energy balance.
It's simple maths. And I don't mean simple as in it's easy to do, but it does come down for 90% of the people, if not more, is that equation. Like it's.
And like a good tip for people, and what we did here was fill the fridge. but I filled it with the right things. There was fruit, there was granola, there was protein yogurts, there was protein puddings for the evening. You know, like there was fresh chicken fillets, there was fresh fish. There was always an option for me to cook something healthy because I was tired in the evening. I was, and like I'd come in, I'd have the shower, and once I sit on the couch, I'm like, oh yeah, for cooking this shit.
But you probably know what you want to cook as well. Like, you know, in the fridge, it's probably is making that decision. You're kind of like, okay, I have this, and this, and cook this. So you'd have your kind of set things there.
Exactly. Like I have pasta, I have chicken, I have rice, I have frozen veggies.
Yeah.
There is any combination that can be made from them.
Yeah.
The only addition might be a jar if I'm not arsed making which I haven't been. I've used jars this week. So I had a pesto jar for a chicken pasta. I got a fajita pack mix out of Aldi for $1.50, and we had a bag. So like I think the packet or the box of the Aldi version of the fajita mix, and then the kit, I suppose, I think it's $1.59, maybe €2. The bag of veggies is €1, and the chicken fillets are about €5 or €6. And so yeah, that was 2 meals. We ended up getting two full meals out of that. And you know, like I knew I had those things, so I didn't know I was making fajitas, but I opened it, I was like, oh, well, I have chicken, I have veggies, and I have this starter kit. So like it's just putting when you open the cupboard, just putting those options that offer convenience and also good taste. Like it was really enjoyable. There was some left over for lunch that she had for her lunch next day, and I had lunch and work, and it was shit. And I was just thinking, I was like, that bitch is having them fajitas.
Yeah, well, the point you're not going home thinking, oh my God, what will I cook? And then trying to Google stuff or I have to go to shop get something. Because when you get to that stage, like, right, I just order a chipper or even still, all the apps and stuff now, you just hit a couple of buttons and now all of a sudden it's getting delivered to the house, especially where you are right now, you're spoiled because
like
so
in the city.
You need that full fridge or those, okay, I've got my little go-to things to have here and start picking and choosing from that rather than having all these different options and fatigue at the end of the day, especially the cycling and stuff you're doing and full days of work. And the last thing you want to be doing is thinking, what am I going to have for dinner? And trying to put something together, not have all the ingredients for and stuff like that. And the more you're trying to think and exert that way, you are just going to make the easy option, which is probably just grab a chip. Yeah,
just get it. And look, I cycle by probably 20 of them on my final 2K, and you can smell the chipper as you're coming around the corner. Like, and Eddie Rockets is, I think, 300 meters away. You know, like it's it's very easy, very, very easy to get down there. But
so to go back.
Sorry,
I was going to say to go back to the cycling stuff because you touched on this a couple of weeks ago. You're building towards a cycling the length of the country in September, so you've got a good 6 weeks or so to build towards that. Is your training going to be to and from work and then a weekend long cycle, or how you mixing that with knowing the running the Dublin Marathon's coming up? What, 7-8 weeks after that?
Yeah, so for me, obviously, one event has taken priority. So we're 15 weeks to the Dublin Marathon now because my 16-week plan should have started on Monday. But I prioritized the cycling, kind of like we're studying for exams and this exam's coming up first, but I'm still fucked for both of them. But the cycle's coming up first, so I felt that was priority. That's September. So I started the cycling this week. Next week, we're introducing the running at lunchtime. Now, obviously, in the middle of a heat wave, we're going to see what happens with that. This is the part where a marathon plan is great, and I have my plan. I have my plan set out, and I know Monday is going to be a 40-minute run. But bearing in mind, I'm already doing an hour and a half of endurance training because my heart rate is in the 140s. Right. So I know I'm not running. So mileage in the legs is important to get the legs used to it. But in terms of cardiovascular endurance, if that turns into a 20-minute trot, that's okay. If I'm to do 10 intervals on Wednesday and I end up doing 6, that's okay because the excess of the endurance has been picked up on the bike. But obviously, you want to give your best to both. So next week, we're going to introduce the running, but taking it like that, I think it's a very listen to the body approach. If it's 32 degrees and I still have to cycle home tomorrow or in the evening, maybe a 45-minute run is not the brightest idea, you know. So next week we're introducing the running. The cycles on Tuesday and Thursday on the cycle home, instead of being 17k, I'm going to do a lap of the park, increase it to 25 kilometers. That'll bring me up to nearly 50 kilometers on Tuesday and Thursday for the day. Into the third week, every day we'll have a lap of the park. So that'll be 50 kilometers a day, plus my running.
Yeah.
And then into the fourth and fifth week, it'll be a lap of the park, into work, home. We'll be up to the 60 to 70k a day. So I think that will cover me, especially because I'm cycling on my own, trying to maintain. So the group pace is 25 kilometers an hour. That's what we will be covering over the intended to get up to the each day. That's the group pace that we'll be going over each stage. But as anyone who has cycled in any race or drafted behind someone knows, 25 kilometers as part of a group is probably an 18 kilometer feeling on your own when you're taking a little bit easy. Like you really get pulled along by a group. And when you have no wind resistance, it's easy on the legs. So you can do a bit of a slog out in front, take the hit for everyone, and then slot in behind for a little while, especially if there's 20 or 30 of us. Your next time up the front won't come for a long time. So I think by getting to 60, 70 kilometers a day in the week beforehand with my running, I think even on 120, as you've seen, 120 kilometers in a day shouldn't be too much of a stretch for me. When all I have to do, I don't have to work. I don't have to do a day's in between, cook my own food. I just have to get on a bike and cycle. So, you know, I think it'll be I think I'll be in a great position then to take it on then. At least not to suffer. I want to be kind of like yourself. I want to be, yeah, like leaving the south of the country, coming through Kerry, Kenmare, all these places, and enjoying the scenery, not going, oh, holy shit. 80
That makes a big difference.
Yeah, so I want to at least be at a point. I don't want to be the first one to fall off the group, which is also a motivation. So I am pushing, within reason, pushing myself in and out of work, like hitting the speeds, trying to feel a little bit of burn in the legs at all times. So I don't want to do myself an injustice, but I also want to be quick enough that I can be comfortable at any pace and enjoy it, and that's the most important thing is the enjoyment factor.
Unreal. Yeah, going back to what you're saying, the cycling, the running, trying to balance and all. At the start of the year, myself and Rachel did the podcast, and she was coaching me with the 5K plan, and she was saying a lot of runners do the bike because of the less impact they had on the legs. So I was suffering. It was probably my calf and Achilles, know me. In January, so there was a couple of weeks where I had to use just the assault bike and stuff a lot more. And it's like, look, that's going to build up your aerobic base. So you will get the benefit of that. So like just in your case now, you being on the bike, you will get the benefit of build up your aerobic base, being near the 140 that you are for your heart rate. When you're cycling, you build that up. And then obviously getting those miles and legs will come later and will be needed for getting used to running, for not you're going to get used to running, but being able to build up. So on the day you will have 42.2k in the legs to keep going and to feel that impact. Like that is obviously still important, but you're still somewhat training towards Dublin Marathon right now by building up that aerobic base there. So that your breathing and everything else not going to let you down on the day, and it's just building up in the legs from there.
Yeah, and
hills are going to do that to you too.
The hills will do that. Like it is, like it's up that hill I'm talking about. As you come through from the city through Chapel Elizabeth, go straight across the junction. Don't go towards the Ballyfermot kind of N4 junction. You go straight up the hill in front of you. It's actually
up the Colmore Road, no?
Yeah,
I know the one. All right, that it's not long, but it's steep as hell.
It's steep, and it's like that. You're in very first gear, and you look for another gear, and there isn't one, and you're like, uh-oh. But it's it does spike the heart rate enough that you get your interval, I suppose, and then you're back into your 145. But like as well, like once you stick to that, then as you're saying, what am I going to do on the weekends? The weekends I'm kind of going to tailor around. Like I'm going to probably hit you up and go, do you want to on a weekend like this? Obviously, we have other things planned this weekend. It'd be kind of like, do you want to get on the road at 6 o'clock when we cycle around Wicklow and go into, cycle to Glendalough or something for like an early breakfast and cycle, just enjoy the journey, enjoy the summer that it is, the late nights, the early mornings. It's like, just try and enjoy that journey and build it around like building memories, as opposed to like the times I've done this before. It's been 7:00 Phoenix Park, 4 laps home. Like it's
I love the park, but that can get a bit monotonous. All right.
So for me, it's a case of similar to what you did in Killarney National Park. Just go for a run. What are you going for? I don't know. It could be 10, could be 30, but we're out. Like it's. I think because the effort will be so high Monday to Friday. I think the weekend can be pick and choose of what would I like to do, where would I like to go. I might cycle out to Holt for a bag of chips, and it's that's where the pace is left behind. And funny enough, yesterday morning I went for a cycle around the city because every morning I'm conscious because there's cars behind you. I'm like, go fast, you're holding everyone up. Go fast, you're holding everyone up. But like yesterday, I didn't care. I was cycling down to meet them for breakfast, and I mean, like, cruised around the city. And I was like, this is actually really enjoyable. And
probably weren't that much slower though, were you?
Probably not. Not overall, with all the traffic lights and all that. Like, it was probably all right, but I thoroughly just enjoyed the cruise, just enjoyed the journey, looking at this, looking at that. I ended up cycling past the new, it was DIT for us, I think it's DTU or Dublin Technical University, but the Grange Gorman, I've never been down that road, ever. Never found myself near it. I ended up cycling around it and nearly cycling onto Lewis tracks and this and that. But like, it was great. Like, and I ended up covering 10K, but my energy, I didn't even feel like I did anything. I actually felt guilty. So I walked the dogs twice because like, I've done nothing today. Even though I cycled 10K, which like 7 more, I was in work and I was like, that was a good workout, So it is cool when you can, once you can do stuff like that. And like, if I can kind of take that little bit of attitude to long distance cycling, like you did with the Ring of Kerry, I probably wouldn't be pushing as hard from the start. I'd probably enjoy it. I'd probably have loads of energy because I'm just like, it's a day out. Don't worry about everyone else. Like, just don't worry about pace. Just go what you feel. So, it's been a good week, and it's nice. Some people, look, I understand some people are not going to enjoy the journey after a week. I am, because this is where we've been, and this is my happier place. And I'm feeling it's coming back, and I'm like, I'm really enjoying this now. So for those that were looking to get going, give it a week. Give it a week of maximum effort. Be honest to yourself. Make a commitment. I made a deal with myself, and I think when you actually stand there and say, no, you're making a deal with yourself. When the chocolate bar appears, it's like, no, you made a deal with yourself. So if you can make a deal with yourself, give it a week, see how you go. And then when the journey kicks in, you're like, you know what, this is actually not as hard as I thought it was going to be. It's easier to say no to the chocolate. It's easier to get on the bike, especially when the weather is this good. Like, it makes everything so much easier. It's
the thought of it more so than anything else. It is worse. Like, it's like, the thought of going for, like, even talking to like football players and stuff, like, how do you go run for 10K? It's like, you do the same thing on a pitch, but you're just running after a ball. You're not thinking about it. Like, it's the same as you when you're cycling. You're looking at, what's around the corner here? Like, when I was in Kerry, I was like, what's around the corner here? Like, I wasn't thinking, I've got 170K to do. I'm out here for 10, 12 hours. Like, what's the next town? Well, what's this like? And, okay, if I was do it again, I'd probably map 4 or 5 different stops. Like, when you get to the top of the hill, you stop, you do a ground, take a few pictures or whatever. And then you fly down the hill into the next town. Maybe stop and, I'd pick my little stops a little bit more so you'd have shorter distances to get to. But for the most part, it's like, what's here? Delhi, this is a bit mad. Just take it all in and go from there. But to your point earlier, you kind of have to build that fitness so you enjoy those days. And that's what the training's all about. You struggle in your trainings and everything else. So on days like that, you just go out and you just enjoy it. Because the worst thing you do is not train and just suffer on days you should be joined on those race days. Speaking of events, Johnny, we do have, I have the cycle. I know you're on the bike quite a bit. We'll get a few nice cycles together. We have the marathon. So we're already fit, but an event that comes up that I've done for many years, obviously it's back after COVID now, is Sea to Summit in Westport. It's in the start of November. I'm thinking of signing up for it again, along with a lot of the guys that do it. It's a great weekend where it's a run, cycle. You can choose your lengths, but it involves Patrick. So you run 4K to your bike, cycle 10K out to the base of Patrick. You can either choose, depending on the race, it's climb to the top of Patrick or just climb to the shoulder of it, go back down. If you climb to the shoulder of it, you cycle back into town, 10K, run your 4K back, you're done, and you're on the beer. If you're a bit disgusting, you'll climb the top of Patrick. There's only one way to go. Back down, instead of turning right for the town, you turn left and you go off on a 30 to 40K cycle.
on some decent hills and decent winds.
Nice.
And then you come back in and do your 4K run to home, and then you're on the beer an hour later or 2 hours later. But it's
you enjoy that point a lot more, though.
Yeah. I was actually looking at the sign up. I was like, do I do the easy one?
Nope.
And just enjoy myself. And then I was like, oh no. I had a dismal attempt at the last one. I was carrying the knee injury after the marathon, and I still went and did it like in Egypt, but I had a bad day out. So I think with this one, with a good build up of cycling and running, I think it's actually one of those where I'll actually just enjoy the day. So but it's a good event for people's books. The event is open and tickets are on sale. It's always a good night. It's a little bit awkward getting to Westport on the Friday.
I say the atmosphere is great there, though, with the smaller towns and the nights out, because everyone's kind of done it and stuff. So everyone kind of, you're on the same boat with everyone in that session, like afterwards.
I won't be quoted on the numbers, but they're definitely up to 2,000 participants. Like
wow.
It's quite big. Like it's huge, very, very big. Like it's a fantastic event, but it's 1,000 to 2,000 definitely. Like it's a big event. So yeah, definitely something for the books for the weekend. Anyway.
Unreal. On that bombshell, I think we'll wrap up this week's episode of the Any Given Runday podcast, unless you've got anything else to add.
Nope.
Actually, one small thing. You're good at riddles.
Oh.
So I talked to start. I'm gonna put this a little bow in this. I talked to start the podcast about my Garmin needing a battery and getting charged up and stuff like that. I was going for a cycle yesterday morning, and I realized, okay, there's only 20% in the battery in the Garmin. I was like, I'd give it a good charge, have a bit of breakfast. I charged up my watch, had a bit of food, went back up, got the charger, got me Aftershocks headphones. So I love wearing them when going for my cycle. I went back downstairs. I put them on the chair in the kitchen. Got my bike, got everything else ready. You know, I'm damn near a pro now. I've got me repair kits, my tubes, the whole lot. I hope I never have to use them on the side of the road. I've got my water bottles filled. I'm good to go. I go get my headphones and the watch is gone. I'm like, it has to be somewhere. So instead of just taking a deep breath and just thinking about where the watch could have gone, I went into panic mode. Oh, it's somewhere. Went up into the room, checked, not there, back down. Different room again, went to the bathroom, seen it was there. Living room was never even in the living room. So it might be in the living room. Went back to where the bike was, rechecked my steps, looking all over the place. I went up and down. Maybe it fell into the clothes basket. Maybe I actually didn't take it out of the charger. This went on for 20 minutes. I went to Neve like 5 times. Have you seen my watch? She slept through the whole thing. So there's no way she's seen the watch. I still asked her every time. She's going to kill me. Eventually took a deep breath and I realized my watch was stolen. 7:00 in the morning, Saturday morning, my watch was stolen from this point. There is no other way that it could be anywhere except stolen. And I looked to my left, the bottom, and the little feckin' pup we had was looking with big eyes. I'm like, he has it. I know he has it. Went, checked, lifted him up. I was like, no sign. I was like, I knew he had it. And I looked to the left. There was, nestled in the other dog bed, me watch. The dog took me watch. I was late into work and everything, and I was like, you're not going to believe it. The dog touched the watch. Like, Seán, you're going to need a better excuse than that. No, I'm dead serious. The dog took me watch. I'm not bombshell. Keep your watch on you at all times. And that's pretty much it for this week's episode of the Any Given Runday podcast with myself and Eric. Take care.
Bye.